Recording from Cincinnati, Ohio, my name is Austin Flume, and with me as always,
Anthony Gorman.
And this is the P-Funk and Fro Show, your weekly podcast for adventures, cool stories, and interesting people. This week's guest does not exist. It's just a fireside chat between Anthony and myself. We decided to take an episode to talk about the state of the podcast, what's been happening recently, why all these changes have been happening, what our inspiration has been behind this podcast. We also talk about our mental state, but also like relationships. Anthony, are you anywhere close to bumbling or Tindering anytime soon?
This is the intro, Austin.
Yeah. So we go into a little bit more about that soon. Also, I took a trip to Myrtle Beach. We'll talk about that, the developments in Myrtle Beach and how I felt about that trip, and where we see the podcast going in 5 years. It's just kind of like a recap episode. We'd like to do things like this every once in a while. We hope you enjoy this episode. There'll be a guest back again next week that we found off of Reddit. Hopefully, as long as they don't turn out to be a serial killer.
So far, they haven't. We've had one. One so far.
So far, Reddit is batting 100 for not being serial killers. So we hope that keeps working out. But we hope you enjoy this episode. What's up, Anthony?
Not much.
Me neither, dude. How's it going? How's life?
It's going pretty good. I'm glad it's warm out now.
I am too. We ain't got a guest.
Yeah, no guests today.
Nobody bogging us down.
Well, might want to edit that out. No, I'm just kidding.
Keep it
All
in.
guests are like now listening, like, oh man, we're bogging them down.
Nah.
No, we love the guests.
Nah, the guests are very important. They're very important to our growth here at the P-Funk and Fro Show.
Right.
We hope you've enjoyed the guests recently.
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah, I have too. This is going to be an interesting episode, Anthony.
Okay. I see the notes.
Yep, got the notes up on the Google Doc.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had a lot of guests recently, and there have been a lot of changes that the P-Funk and Fro Show has undergone recently.
Yeah.
Recent history. And I thought it was a perfect situation, given that we don't have a guest for this week, and that all these changes have been happening, to kind of talk about the changes, why they started occurring.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
like what the target is.
Yeah.
Like what we expect to get out of all these changes.
Yeah, because things have morphed quite a bit in the last month or two, as opposed to the whole year prior.
Yeah. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
we have a banner now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we do. We have a banner with our faces on it.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. And I think you touch on it perfectly when you say, like, as opposed to the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because it took us like a year, I think, to really figure out what direction to go in.
Yeah, and it just so happens that we were talking about adventures, and we like guests with new backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. We kind of morphed into what we wanted.
Yeah.
Deep down.
Exactly. Yeah, deep down inside of our souls.
Yeah. So what exactly are the changes you're talking about in specifics?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with exactly what spawned the changes, and then like the actual changes that'll come as a result of that story, right?
Okay.
So if we rewind back to probably like episode 40, I don't remember exactly what the time frame was. It was like a relatively large time frame, but I was like, we were doing the podcast every week, and it was just kind of the same, and we were running into the issues where it's like, it's just us two. We've talked every week for an hour about everything.
Yeah, and like every week, it's kind of shocking how even condensing everything into an hour, it's still really easy for a weekly thing. Yeah. It's like, oh crap, that's what I did this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and up until that point, it was a podcast about us. Mm-hmm. It was the P-Funk and Fro Show. It's a podcast about our lives.
Yeah, right.
Right? We talked about a lot of our lives, like most of it, really. Or at least the parts that are important. There are obviously things that we didn't talk about on the podcast. Yeah. And that'll come up in the future, I'm sure. But like, at least for me, it became hard to just have a podcast where we talk about us and like crazy topics every week consistently. Yeah. Because it's like some weeks you have off weeks, not much happens, and we weren't going on as many adventures. The winter came and went.
Yeah, because we kind of started the podcast and it was like, boom, trip here, trip there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, something crazy happened.
It really came with the perfect time, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we ended up going through that and then going through the winter where we didn't do a whole lot. We had a few guests here and there, but I found it very difficult to kind of put on an entertaining show every week.
That's true, yeah.
And maintain this big list of topics to talk about. Because, like, what is there even to... Like, we don't have, like, a fan base that we can solicit for questions every week.
That's true.
Like,
I mean, we kind of do, but we don't want to, like, keep exhausting them.
Yeah.
Because of the Facebook group, but...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even the Facebook group, like, everybody in the Facebook group is awesome, and every time we go to them for questions, they definitely deliver.
That is true.
Thanks, you guys. We seriously appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we don't want to, like you're saying, hit them the same
every week. Like,
hey, you guys got more questions?
Or all of a sudden it's like punching them in the gut or something. Like, hey, give me a question.
Yeah, yeah, they become editors.
Right, yeah. Right.
So it's like that coupled with the fact that like it's a lot of time editing and we weren't getting many returns. Like download counts weren't going up.
I see, yeah.
And so the returns on the investments that we were putting in felt very low.
Yeah.
So around that time, like the 40 to 43 episode mark or whatever that, I kind of had this timeline in my mind where, okay, we'll ride this out till episode 52.
Yeah.
And then probably put an end to it. You know
okay, yeah.
That's we never talked about that.
Right, no, we haven't, yeah.
It felt kind of unspoken almost.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it just seemed like the gas was kind of running out, but I'm sure you have a thought where you're going with this, but I think the guess is what really...
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was like, I definitely follow you with that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we started getting some off-the-wall guests, because a lot of our guests were just coworkers.
Yeah.
So coworkers were listening to other coworkers talk about coworkers and other coworker.
Yep. And yeah, exactly.
Which is cool. It's just like back-to-back. Yeah.
And there's no growth there.
Right.
Like the audience is for the people that are involved, and that's it.
That's true.
That was the other thing is like when you do a podcast about yourself and your life and you're not famous already, the only people that are really your target audience are your family and your friends. There's no growth there.
Mom, click on it twice so we get 2 views. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
It does. But that's not what we try to do.
Okay.
But yeah, so we got to that point. It's like, write it out to episode 52 and then we'll cancel it, right? That's what it was in the back of my head. Like I said, we never talked about it. That.
Yeah.
Right? So what changed? We're still doing it, obviously. We have no sign of stopping.
Right.
I have no intention of stopping the podcast now.
Yeah.
So before I say this, Anthony, do you have like a specific moment when you realize like, okay, this is something that we can keep doing sustainably for a long time and should do?
I think I had it a couple times. So I would say like 5 in. I was like, oh crap, we can do this for the long haul. Like, because it was just so much fun. And the guests we were having on, it was just like a different format of just expressing oneself.
Yeah.
So it's still just talking, kind of like conversation style, even with our guests, things like that. But it's just neat to have like a formulated thought process and then just see how the conversation goes.
Yeah.
And then it's just, boom, that's it right there.
Right.
But then you hit the nail right on the head. Like there was a very long lull. It didn't really. Yeah. I wouldn't say it like dipped down. It just kind of plateaued.
Yeah.
Where we were talking a lot about ourselves and things like that. I see exactly what you're saying. So there wasn't much growth.
Right.
And then these past couple weeks, I would say month and a half, it's kind of rocketed back up.
Right.
Just because of the guests.
Yeah.
The uniqueness of them and just where they came from. So like 2 guests ago, the person came from Reddit. So it was like,
right, yeah.
It was just weird. It's just cool to have different people that you've never even met before,
right,
as a guest.
Yeah, and get their perspective on things.
But yeah, I guess I never really had a thought that we would end it specifically at 52. I don't think it would have, like if you would have said it in that lull, I would have been like, I don't know what to do, bro. But yeah, I don't know. Now I'm excited. So we kind of went back on Reddit to like get some like new guests, and specifically the Cincinnati subreddit. And there was a pretty strong response. Kind of as I expected, or a little bit more higher than I expected. So I was like, whoa, okay.
Right, yeah.
So there's like about 6 people that are pretty serious.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute. Right?
Okay.
So the future of the stuff and the guests like that. But talking in terms of like what turned us around. So you said the guests and the diversity of the guests and the interesting stories that come along with talking to them is really what kind of reignited the flame for you for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mine is exactly the same with like just like a little bit more specificity.
Okay.
So one specific guest, basically.
Yeah.
That being Sarah from Portland, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, she came from Portland to be a guest on the podcast. And not only was she a guest and it was a fantastic episode, she came with like a list of notes and recommendations of things that we could do. And I'm looking at this whole situation. I'm like, we could totally do all these things. Yeah. This amazing situation came out of the blue because of this podcast.
Okay, yeah.
I cannot stop doing this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, people listen to this. Like, even if it's such a small amount of people right now, the people that do seem to listen seem to really like enjoy listening and following. It's just only the people that we've talked to, our Facebook group. That's it. So like, that's true. There's potential there.
There's some stragglers out there that we don't know. There's like I call them shadow listeners.
Shadow listeners.
That I'm not exactly sure who they are, but they're out there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So Sarah came on the podcast, and she kind of like inspired me greatly. Yeah. To keep doing it, get all these ideas. That's like, I think that week we started the calendar for guests, like the guest calendar.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, we need to make sure we have consistent guests every week.
Yeah.
And that combats the problem with us talking about ourselves every week.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That was kind of a hinge point right there. She did have so many good ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. And it's also like the other reason I found it difficult to like keep talking about myself every week was because I'm not single anymore. Like I feel like I'm not only talking about my experiences. But I'm kind of also talking on behalf, since my life is so involved.
Well, you don't want to go deep into that just for privacy's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
But before, when you're like dating and like out in the dating world and everything's like interesting and like this happened here and oh my god,
yeah. My life was like on the internet and I was fine with that because it was just me.
Just because it's you, yeah. I totally understand.
Yeah, but now it became more difficult to say everything because it's like, I don't want to like say everything because I'm like kind of,
Right,
but anyway,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why it was nice having guests because it could be more directed towards the guests.
Okay.
Plus, that way we can slowly start building the fan base and get more and more and more different types of guests.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it turned for me.
Okay, that makes complete sense. I mean, now when you put it like that, that is exactly when it changed.
Right?
Because like the calendar kind of, made us get more guests almost because we could see the actual dates on there and be like, okay, we need to fill this.
Right.
And so now I'm trying to do that on the internet.
Yeah, you want to talk about that now?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I put a post on the Cincinnati subreddit, which Reddit's basically a democracy of information. Things are upvoted.
Yep.
Things rise to the top. And my little request for podcast guests rose to the top of the subreddit like within the hour. I was like, crazy. Oh my God, which means like people are upvoting it for the cause, basically.
Right.
And it's a smaller subreddit, but the fact that it was up there within an hour was pretty cool. So I was like, oh, thanks, everybody.
So there's like a demand, at least within that subreddit.
Right, yeah. So I think it was something different because I read it every other day pretty much and don't really see too much about podcasts except for 2 guests ago. That guy. Yeah.
Mike, except for Mike, yeah.
Yeah, so I think tapping the internet for new guests is one way. I think you were directly contacting business owners, maybe.
Yeah.
That way. So a lot of this podcast will hinge upon our ability to get guests.
Yes, and I agree. And I agree with that.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so we're doing, like, you've got the Reddit thing going on. I read the book 4 Hour Work Week a couple months ago, and it talks about ways to acquire high-profile guests.
Oh, really?
And it makes it sound extremely feasible. Okay. Which is why I'm kind of coming to, like, this specific forum and saying, like, if anyone listening wants to hear anyone, specific guest. I mean, like, you can keep it low profile or like the Cincinnati area kind of thing. Like, I really like this Cincinnati-based restaurant, Nation Kitchen, something like that.
Yeah.
I would love to hear how they started up. Or you see something on the news, somebody was involved in some crazy startup or some kind of anything. Like, something crazy happened to somebody in the area. Yeah. Let us know, and I will try to get them on the podcast.
We'll stick Austin on him.
Yes. But yeah, I think it's totally possible,
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to go out and get that person.
Yeah.
Or ask that person. So not much experience doing that as of now, but I see the potential in it, and it is great potential.
And like the downside of that is what? You get no response back.
Exactly.
So
there's no negative.
Really,
Exactly. And if anything, they have then heard of you.
Right. And we were kind of talking earlier before about how we could like start up like fake controversy. Right. Like it'd be like Jerry Springer said he would never be on the P Funk and Fro show.
Right.
Everybody tweet at him, why won't he be there? And what's he hiding? Like lightning bolt. Right. Then Jerry Springer will hear that little tidbit and be like, what the fuck is this? Yeah.
He has P Funk and Fro on.
Or he'll be like, I don't even know who the hell this guy. Probably, which is what would happen.
Are there new episodes of the Jerry Springer show still?
I didn't even really look into it, but I've heard it a couple times that he does it, but I don't think he does it. I think it might be weekly, but it might be even longer than that.
Yeah. I'm not even talking about the podcast, like the TV show.
Oh, I don't know what he does. Mike said he lived out in LA, I think still, and he flies in or he calls in or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
That's something crazy.
But yeah, he's still doing a podcast, I guess.
Dang.
I don't know if he's got that Jerry Springer show money rolling in still or what, because he hasn't really done anything that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, if his show's syndicated,
yeah, that's true.
He's getting them checks.
Yeah, and I'm sure he can like pull some guests on his podcast. But I feel like I don't know, like there's like different tiers of podcasts, like with sponsorship,
right?
Like. It'd be great just to be able to be sponsored, to have like a studio, like to get to that level. Mm-hmm. Then the next level would be like, hey, like we could do this for a living.
Yeah, which is, I would say, the end goal.
Right. I got to invite. There's always someone always has something interesting and new to bring to a conversation.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think those are the kind of the basis for why the changes have been happening with the podcast.
Yeah.
We got the new intro. That was just like kind of us thinking outside of the box. Like, why might this podcast be a turnoff for a little bit more niche?
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of a different kind of intro.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to a lot of different podcasts, figure out what they did with their intros, and I've tried to kind of base ours off of theirs because theirs are successful for a reason.
No, that's, I mean, mimic what's working.
Yeah, exactly. So, but with that, I think it's also important to maintain kind of the feel that we've maintained with the podcast. So if you listen to an NPR podcast or one of those like WNYC Studios podcasts, or This American Life or something like that. Those are phenomenal podcasts.
Oh, yeah, well edited. Yeah.
Right, well edited, well put together. Yeah. They have conversations, but they're not what I would say conversational. It's not just like the Joe Rogan where you get an interesting person and put them in a room and have a conversation with them.
And then just riff it out,
Yeah, they're heavily produced.
That's true. I think that's what kind of turned me away from NPR, because I listened to a couple of them, but I was just like, this is like... It was almost too talk radio-y.
Yeah.
But that's probably because I'm so used to Joe Rogan. That's like my main.
Exactly. It's whatever you like. Yeah. Whatever you're used to. Yeah.
Right.
There's conversational and there's the heavily produced. I think what we've done is kind of have a good balance of both.
Yeah.
Where we have the production and we have like the extra, like we have the intro, there's the intermission, and then there are cuts and stuff.
Thanks to your wonderful editing.
Well, thank you. But it's minimal, right? So we have that, but we also have the conversational aspect where we're just talking to a guest, and it feels real. It feels like you're having a conversation with a person, which I think is one of the most important things to maintain with this podcast.
Right.
Is like we provide something different because we're having an actual deep hour-long conversation with this person.
Willing to go off the rails.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not super produced.
Exactly,
so there's a place for all these different kind of podcasts, and I think that is just kind of where our niche sits.
That's true. Yeah, because like our topics are pretty broad, like adventures, things like that.
Right.
So it's pretty much anything.
Yeah, exactly. So not to drone on about that whole thing for too long, but I felt like it was good to kind of address that and get feedback.
No, that's good. I saw the topic that you put on there for today. And I didn't know exactly where you were going to go with it, but that's awesome. Yeah,
nice.
It's good to look back like that.
No doubt.
Hadn't really thought of that.
Agreed. So that's that, and those are all the changes that we've been making. But I also want to talk about like things that have been going on in our lives specifically. Okay. So we haven't talked about us a lot because we've been talking about guests, whereas the podcast used to be 100% about us.
Yeah,
and it used to be our sounding board for getting stuff off of our chests.
That's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a record in time,
right?
Basically.
Yeah. And while we move forward with guests, I think we will always have a place for just a one-on-one episode.
I think so
every
too.
now and then.
Yeah. So even if like every 6th or 8th
yeah.
was like just us.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good like reset.
Yeah. But we could totally ask for questions that often.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't this time.
Right.
Because whatever.
Right. We'll just wing it.
Yeah. But yeah.
So, we'll do it live.
Yeah. So where have you been personally, Anthony? Like in terms of your life? Like what is going on?
Life development.
Let's talk about everything again.
So this last winter was kind of a bummer, I will admit.
Yeah.
So I kind of got in a rut. I wouldn't call it like a depression, but it was kind of like just a low hum of just blah.
Just surviving.
I mean, I would even get into like routines at home that aren't necessarily bad,
but they were routines.
But they were the fact that they were routines and start like mimicking work, where it's just like everything's structured. And just like now I cook dinner. Now I watch this specific show. Now I don't pay attention to commercials. So
that bum you out.
So that was really blah. Yeah. So I still was able to like walk places and things like that downtown, which is part of why I love living there. But everything was muted. Everything. It was like everything. And so I think I would dip in and out of like a depressed state, I would say. But now that it has warmed up, holy crap.
You seem a lot more excited about
I was like just looking and marveling at my arms today. Like I got so tan and like seemingly 3 weeks. I was like, holy cow, when did that happen?
Yeah.
But so I don't know if anybody knows this, but I like to bike or cycle, however you want.
You don't say.
Yeah. So
how many bikes do you have?
I now have 3.
3 bikes.
So that was a big thing that I'm really proud of doing.
That's too many bikes.
I finally so a lot of actually things. So yeah, I have come to realize that I am a very avid biker. I love it. I love every aspect of it. But I don't have like these fancy $3,000 bikes. That's the weird. So it's like I love biking so much, but I don't have like the top this or that. I don't know.
It doesn't sound like you need it.
Yeah, this is how I roll. I like ragtag type things, like items,
Right.
Do your job well. I don't care what you look like type things.
Mm-hmm.
So Heather in Sacramento shipped me the adventure bike, and that just so happened to have came in the mail. I put it back together.
Oh, and the adventure bike was the bike that you acquired from a dude on Reddit when you went on your West Coast trip.
Yeah, I kind of just glazed over that. Right. So a guy on Reddit gave me a bike when I flew into Seattle, and I kind of like used it all the way down the coast on a solo trip. Anyway, so I left it with another friend in like Central California, and she ultimately shipped it back to me because I didn't know what to do with it when I left, and the dude I was supposed to give it to kind of like bugged out on me.
Yeah.
Anyways, so just that coming in and me putting it together kind of like lifted my spirits. I don't know, because I never thought I'd see that bike again. So it was like an old friend almost.
Well, this is the bike that you took on one of your favorite adventures of all time. You know?
The favorite,
Your most
like
favorite
the biggest,
adventure.
epic. The only reason why I lived downtown was that trip.
Dang.
Yeah, so like I was planning on doing Kenwood to Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
Now after that trip, I was like, I have to live like in city.
Yeah.
Like in a city.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Cincinnati, because Cincinnati is so new to me, is fine. But yeah. Anyways, so I got that bike in and put it together. And I cleaned it, and I don't know, I was elated. So I was like so waiting for the biking season, and it got warm out, and I started exercising. Then I bent my rim on my daily bike, which is just your all around middle of the road. It does its job wonderfully,
right?
But yeah, I bent the rim, and I just happened to put together that adventure bike a week before. So then I started exercising on the West Coast adventure bike that Heather sent me.
Yeah,
and I don't know how to describe the feeling. The first time I took it out, so what I do is I do an 18-mile loop where I ride from Pendleton area to the Lunken Airport, and I ride all the way around it and then back.
And how long is that?
18 miles.
18 miles, gotcha.
Which is like lower. When I was living at my mom's, I was doing like a 26-mile loop twice a week. Yes. So this is I do this kind of 3 times a week. And I'm telling you, like, just being out on that bike and like looking down at the frame every once in a while and be like, I can't believe I'm riding this thing again.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, the last time I had it, I was out west, had no idea what I was going to do, no idea where I was moving, no real direction besides work life.
It's almost like when multiple friend groups come together, or different people from different parts of your life come together, and you're like, this is a really surreal moment.
Right, okay.
Of multiple aspects coming together at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like an old friend.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And we had been, even though it was like 2 weeks that I was just riding it, but it was every day and like through new city, so I was experiencing all this stuff. I don't know. I have an attachment with like inanimate objects.
Well.
I have an understanding of that. But so once the biking season started and I had that bike and I was just actually, it was just felt good. And then I got my daily rider back, got that fixed.
Was that from your mom?
Yeah, so I got that for a gift from my mother years and years ago, and I never thought I'd actually ever use it, but it turns out this thing is like a perfect city bike. Just because it's not the thin road tires, it's kind of like the thicker, not quite mountain bike, but not quite, road tires.
Yeah.
And it has slap shifters, so when I go, because I have to ride in the street legally, so when I go from light to light, I like shift up, and then down, up, down. Right, so it shifts like super quick.
Nice.
And so that's a huge perk. And I call it my daily just because that's my go-to all-around bike. And then I got... so I was on a roll. So then I...
Two bikes, not enough.
Right, 2 bikes, not enough.
Not enough bikes.
And those are different style bikes. So if I had the same style bikes, then it would be an issue. Yeah. Then it'd be like, Austin, you'd have to be like, Anthony, I think you have a problem.
You have a problem. This is a bike.
You can't fit them in your apartment anymore. You're hanging them from the ceiling. So I had my road bike, my all-purpose bike. I wanted my old bike from college, the white bitch, which is a a smaller. It's a BMX bike essentially. It's a heavy ass BMX bike,
and it's white.
It's a white bike. My car back in the day was called the Black Bitch. It's a long story. My Camaro was black, and it was a bitch.
It's a very short
because
story.
I would work on it. Yeah, that's just short of the story. I named it that because I was working on it one winter underneath it, and I slipped and I cut my knuckle. You know, like the skin shaved off. In the cold. Oh, it's one of the worst things ever. Cold knuckles, slicing skin off.
Geez.
Yeah, so I yelled at my car.
It would have felt terrible if you gently caressed your knuckles in that situation. Yeah. Scraping.
Working on cars in the cold is terrible, especially when knuckles get scratched.
Yes.
And so I named my car that, and then when I went to Ohio State, I had just that white bike as my mode of transportation. I didn't have my car up there, so I naturally just called that the white bitch. Yeah, so it was like the yin and the yang. So Columbus, I rode the bike, and then at home, I drove the Camaro.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I've been through a whole hell of a lot with this bike.
Yes.
Trying to get stolen. I got hit by a car on it. Things like that. Things that we've been over. Yeah. And things I haven't talked about.
You and bikes, man. I feel like you just adventure a lot on bikes, so they're inherently tied to really good memories.
Yeah, I think it's part of my persona. Yeah. I would say is biking. I didn't even realize it was that big of a deal.
That and like I've never seen someone look more natural on a bike than when we were downtown, like at the P-Funk and Fro booth.
Yeah.
You had your helmet on, you had your biking gear, and you just kept mounting that thing and riding off into the distance like you had a purpose. I was like, I've never seen someone that looks like he should be on a bike more than Anthony right now.
And I was even hungover that day.
And you couldn't tell.
Right. Well,
I couldn't tell.
When I have a bike and I'm in bike mode, man, I just see something, I'm like, all right,
let's bike to that.
Like, right.
You kept scouting out stuff too.
Yeah, I was looking for your dad, but I didn't want to say anything to like mess with his head, and because that was like mile 23 of 26 marathon.
23, yeah, of a 26 marathon.
Yeah. So I didn't want to like psych him out,
right?
But I was looking for that. Plus, just looking at people watching on a bike. You can watch way more people.
Yeah, right. Rapid fire.
So anyway, this white BMX bike that I had in school, it broke 2 weeks before I graduated. I was crossing High Street, and the right pedal was at the apex of the little crank part, so it was high.
Yeah.
And all my weight went on it to push down next. And the pedal sheared off, and my entire body weight slammed into the handlebars.
Oh, no.
Knocked the wind out of me. It happened so quickly, all I remember is like not waking up, but kind of like realizing, and I was laying on High Street. And like I saw the sheared pedal off in the distance, and like this local bar was like, because they saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
They saw a dude like totally biff it with like no reason at all.
Yeah.
And I bent, because I was like 220, 230 pounds back then. So I bent the shaft of the handlebar. So that was like a major.
Your sheer mass.
Yeah. All my body weight landed on the right hand side of the handlebars.
God dang.
And it bent the shaft, and that wasn't an easy fix, obviously. And then the crank part was sheared off. That's not an easy fix.
The bike exercise was off.
Right. It was like completely, messed up. And the funny thing is, I looked at the sheared pedal of the crank.
Yeah.
And it looked like it had been half cracked for a very long time, probably when I got hit by that car. So that bike had been like a ticking time bomb for that whole last year. Like, when is the pedal going to break? And almost made it to graduation 2 weeks prior. Anyway,
so close.
That was 11 years ago.
Plus, your pure carb diet probably didn't help the whole situation.
Pure carb and beer diet. Yeah. It's like Popeye, crack a beer open when I need to go faster.
Right.
Just boom. So, it's been a dream of mine, and this is categorized as a dream because it's been so long, and I love this bike so much.
Yes.
My dream was to rebuild fix that thing, just get it up to rideability again. And I finally got around to doing it pretty much the month of the 11-year mark of since it was broken.
Dang.
So
11 years.
It sat in my mother's basement for 11 years.
Collecting
so I took
rust and dust.
Right, I took a previous shot. I haven't made the album yet. I'm going to put it on Facebook, but I took a previous shot, like a start shot, and it has like spider webs everywhere, both tires flat, pedal sheared off, everything's janked up, everything's dirty. It just looks like it's been in a basement for 11 years.
Super trash.
Yeah, total trash. And I actually finished cleaning it last night, and it's actually looking pretty good. I mean, it's still rough and it's still got its scars.
Okay.
So this was my primary mode of transportation for 4 years.
God.
So it saw a lot of wear, and this is just a Huffy bike that was around $100. This bike has seen a lot.
I'd say it paid for its price.
Oh yeah,
handedly.
Right, and I actually had to spend about $110, $120 to get it back to rideability. So I spent more money in parts getting it back together than what it was worth back in 2003.
Yeah,
I
mean, obviously worth it.
Yeah, I did take it to a bike shop, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Yeah, they said they wouldn't touch it unless for anything less than $200 to $300.
Yeah,
and like bike shops are like car dealers sometimes. Yeah, so it could be like probably $280.
Yeah,
like man, $100 BMX bike, and I spent $280. So I researched, double checked, because buying bike parts is incredibly hard online. I've found out, like if you don't know what you're doing, like if you're new, like I'm been biking forever, but I haven't been repairing my own bikes forever.
Right.
So, no, I've just found the right parts, watched a lot of YouTube videos how to do it, because I was changing bearings in the crank and everything. Like, I added a lot.
Doing all the work.
Yeah, all of it. And I had to buy a special tool to get, like, the crank nut off, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so I now have the BMX bike, and then here soon I'm going to get my BMX, or
this
my...
is not over yet?
No. So I'm going to end up with 4 bikes. 2 of them will be hung in my kitchen area as, like, kind of decoration, because I won't be using the BMX and the mountain bike that much.
Hang the bikes in your kitchen?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang the bikes in the kitchen. So I already put the adventure bike in one set of cabinets. Actually, I might have all 3 in there and just leave my daily out.
I mean, yeah, you can decide that, whatever you want.
So they sell like bike hangers that like allow you to take them off the wall and on the wall easily. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna get. Okay, so I'll still use them. So,
but they'll be displays.
Yeah, and I'll hang them up.
Classic furniture.
For people that don't know, I have like 20-foot ceiling, so I have plenty of space up.
Yeah, for everybody that doesn't know, Anthony is ritzy.
I live, yeah. I don't know. It's like a downtown. I love it. I love that damn apartment. But, yeah, so I can go up with that. So that's what my plan with that is. So once I get my power drill, I'm going to get my mountain bike. Yeah. Because I went on a mountain bike trail a couple days ago, and I loved it.
Yep.
So,
I can tell.
So now I have a road bike, all-purpose, mountain bike, and a BMX bike.
That is 4 bikes.
So whoever wants to bike with me, I'm down 100% whenever. For whatever reason.
He's got his own bike.
And I have bikes to loan out. Hell, I'll just ride the BMX bike if other people want to ride the other ones. Minus the adventure bike. That one's tricky, and
it's got your heart's in that bike.
Yeah, and it's older than me. So
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Anthony, it's obvious that bikes have been a hefty part of your mindset lately. In general, just because they accompany you on all your adventures, and they kind of like perpetuate those adventures and allow them to happen in the first place.
Yeah, they're kind of like adventure makers for me. Yeah.
Right. So outside of bikes, what else has been going on in your can? Anything else you've been mulling around in your dome?
Oh, well, I think I told you at the mall earlier today that I'm thinking about getting back into the dating world.
Yeah. So what's the deal with that?
So what's the deal with that? Well, so when I first moved in, I think in the month of December, I did the Bumble thing, and got every week I got a date. So it was I was like, all right, so my confidence was boosted up.
Like, this guy's got like 8 bikes. We can take advantage of it.
Also, my bikes get stolen. Like, what the hell? Didn't think to lock them up here. So, I don't know. I've just been thinking that just because. Yeah, going on solo adventures is fun, but it also is nice to have, a partner and doing things. So, and again, it's like little spurts. So every once in a while I'll be like, oh, it'd be nice to, have like someone to do that with. And I have friends. It's just like on a Thursday or just random.
On a random day.
Yeah. I think it's kind of that is what I'm longing for a little bit. But also, I think it's the fact that I am downtown, and not a lot of my friends also live in that area. How can I word this correctly?
So
it's more of a pain, I think, to go downtown, and I think that's like a deterrent. Like mostly
for parking reasons.
Parking, and I mean, I definitely back before I moved down there, I was like, I never want to go down there. It's such a pain. Anything's like $10 because you got to pay for park. Yeah. But now that I'm down there, I'm kind of like, oh, it's not that. I was just being a baby. But But of course, I'm not gonna pressure anybody into it. I don't know if I think other people are like this, but it's like on a random day, just be like, hey, let's meet up here, and then do that. I don't think I can really do that with a lot of my friends, just because it would be like a half an hour drive, then I gotta park, then I gotta figure out where to walk to get it, things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm conjuring that up in my own head, and that's why I'm not like inviting more people. Because I think I have an issue of not inviting people down too, because I think I just assume like, oh, if they want to come downtown, they'll message me, and then because I tell everybody like, and I totally mean this.
You're
like,
very open about it, yeah.
Yeah, if you are down any day of the week, text me before you're coming down. Most likely, I will come out and hang out.
Right.
Most likely.
Yeah, and I've taken advantage of that.
Yeah, and other people have too. It's just I think I don't know. It's just because I live on my own, so I don't have roommates. So I wouldn't say I'm lonely. There's just like certain times where I'm like, man, it would be nice if I could just boom and meet up with someone.
Yeah.
But honestly, I haven't really had that since college. So maybe maybe I'm reverting with all this biking. It's got my head like my body's wait, are we going back in time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's college time. Let's just because in college it was like that. It was like, hey, you want to do this? Sure.
Yeah.
But that was also back in the day when people didn't have like, Monday through Friday jobs and like
they had
kids
a lot more time,
and things like that. So maybe I'm just longing for the past and this thought. And again, it's not like I dwell on this. It's just when I do have those feelings, I always try to like at least follow them, see where they lead. Yeah. And this is just kind of where I see that. And I do caution myself. I'm like, Anthony, don't date just because you want someone like just like a guaranteed body there, just to hear you talk or something like that.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to do, but that's just kind of where I'm at. Yeah. I'm enjoying it, loving the city. Yeah. Loving it. But yeah, that's something coming up. So I might just go back in there and just see what's up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, based on what you're saying, it sounds like you just want a companion every once in a while. Like you don't have this like deep yearning for something. It doesn't sound like. It's just like every once in a while it would be nice to have like a constant companion.
See, so I've learned a lot over the past 10 years in relationships.
Well, you've been married before, right?
Right, yeah. So married, divorced, had a couple long-term relationships.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we did talk about this. At the mall, you were like, are you sure you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I am now. So, yeah, so I understand more now the work and the dedication required. Getting into it. So the reason why I'm being very delicate with this is that I don't want to waste someone else's time.
Yeah.
If I'm not completely committed to do something like this.
Right.
So it's mainly, I hope I'm not sounding like bleeding heart, like, I'm just thinking about the other person.
At the same time, you don't want to lead someone on that thinks you want more.
Right.
When you just want something that's kind of fleeting. And
I think what I want to do is what was traditionally back in the day, like dating, where it's kind of loose. And again, like I'm not talking about like loose sex or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm talking like I don't know, more like let's hang out.
Yeah, meet people, make friends.
Yeah, hang out, new friend groups,
see whatever.
Sticks. If there's romance, things like that. Yeah, get romantic involved.
Right,
make out. Blah blah blah.
Ride bikes.
Things like ride bikes, make out while riding bikes, whatever. Things like that.
The ultimate challenge.
Right. The cops are like, I don't think that's legal. I ain't chasing them down.
Find me the rule that says it's not legal.
Right.
I want to see the law.
True. They actually stop us, be like, officer, I don't think there's a rule in the rule book saying you can't make out on the street. So
on a bike.
Later. Cling, cling. No, I don't have any bells. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's the weirdest part of the story was that you don't have any bells on your bikes.
Yeah, I think someone told me like legally you're supposed to have a headlight, brake light. My daily rider has these things. Yeah, a helmet.
You basically
and then a ringer, which kind of makes sense to get
like a horn.
Yeah, but I ain't got no horn.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, like back to what you were talking about.
Yeah. So I think it's the beginnings of getting back into the Bumble scene, like the online dating thing. Mm-hmm. Because you had brought it up earlier before the podcast. Like, I do go out. So I do go to, like, bars and things like that, like with a book or a laptop or my phone.
Right.
Because I love my brunches and things like that. And there's a ton of people that do that, too. Mm-hmm. There's lots of, like, walk-up bar-type places down there, which is why I love that.
Right.
And so I'm getting my fill of that. It's just the shared experience, I guess, is what I yearn. Mm-hmm. So, like, when I went to the park by Ludlow. Oh, I keep forgetting the name of it.
DeVoe,
yeah. So I rode my bike there and then walked up the trail.
Yes.
And it was beautiful, and I was just like, but I was on my own, and I was like, oh my God, I would love to like share this experience with people. So every once in a while I get like that feeling is kind of what I'm getting at. So I'm like, oh, this is so cool and so awesome. Like this path I have now is like so cool. I want to share it with people.
It'd be cool if somebody was here to
so I guess
with me.
I'm kind of talking it out right now. I kind of want to share what I'm experiencing.
I see.
Because I'm having a great time. But yeah.
Right.
I guess that's it.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess more on that in the coming episodes, right? I mean,
I'm not going to stop. Yeah, right. I'm going to do what I do. Don't get me wrong. Because I'm having a blast.
Right, and it doesn't seem like it's something that is really tugging at you that you feel the need to act on it anytime soon. Even.
Absolutely not. Because I still hang out with my friends.
Right.
Like, it's not like I'm bound down there by myself all the time.
Yeah, and if you do you think like if you had friends like more people that were kind of on tap to hang out with all the time that you'd have any kind of yearning to be in a relationship?
I think it would be less. Yeah, I think, but I would probably in the back of my head be like, oh, because when you start mixing social groups, then you like meet new people that way. Yeah, so then I would be like, well, I would need less online chatting because I'm meeting all these new people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So whatever. I kind of basically, honestly, what it boils down to is I kind of want to like share the fun down there.
Yeah,
and I feel like I'm just now starting to figure out, because I kind of brainstormed with you earlier about like biking groups and like meetups and things like that on Reddit. So I might start doing things on that just to see if no one shows up, who cares?
Yeah, whatever.
So I'm gonna go into an experimental phase with my social life down there.
Nice.
Here soon.
That's awesome.
Because I think it's just warm and I'm biking all around.
Yeah, well, it's the boom, right? That you're talking about.
Yeah.
The car already happened. It's the kaboom.
Oh yeah, the car. Boom. Yeah. It's right now it's the car.
It's probably good that you stopped saying that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I said it once and it like was so fitting, and then every time that it was like watered down.
Fitting. Everybody that talks about that was like, dude, you need to have it.
No, it was before you. I think it was something completely different. I think I wrote it. It was in like one of my blogs.
Like a blog.
And it worked perfect for that.
But not.
And then I said it in real life, and then every time I said it, it was just like, yeah, okay, let's so I retired it in my verbiage.
That's good.
Yeah. So I kind of, well, I mean, it was fitting. Yeah.
Ghosted it like a bad Bumble date.
Yeah, well, things that,
Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing the results of those stories, Anthony.
That's awesome.
And thank you for sharing. We will be right back. We're going to take a quick break. This has been episode 53.
Wow.
Of the P Funk and Fro Show. We'll see you guys in a minute.
Welcome back, everybody. we got a little goofy. We're getting a little goofy here, but next topic, Austin. So I keep forgetting you went on a trip just because I guess I didn't go with you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's because you only care about yourself. So
no, no, I think like even when I was texting you while you're on vacation, I didn't realize. I mentally, because I think like weekends, like you and Alex, it's like your time.
Sure.
And then yeah,
that's true.
Whatever. So so you went to Myrtle Beach.
I did, yeah.
So I actually, once I realized that you were on the vacation, I was like, oh yeah. So I do have an actual real question, not trying to be nice.
Really? Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Why'd you do this? Why'd you? No. How did this come up? Like, was this one of those random ones or whatever? Because I don't remember hearing you talk about it too much until right before, and I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then I remembered.
Yeah, I see.
So why did you go on this trip?
All right, so Myrtle Beach is Myrtle. Well, once again, you forgot because you only care about yourself. But
whatever. That's not.
I'm just playing, dude.
Anyways, moving on. I'm gonna edit this one and just edit just my voice.
Right.
And people just think it's like the Fro Show. No, I'm just kidding.
This is episode 53 of the Fro Show.
Yep.
Everyone.
Yep. Right. Just random.
No,
laughing.
but anyway, yeah. So I'm just kidding. Obviously, Anthony's a good soul. He's a good man. But
I'm just glad these pop filters catch my tears.
The reason we went to Myrtle Beach,
right? Okay.
So it was Alex and I, along with my friend Dustin and his girlfriend Maddie, who's also my friend, but it's easier to say it the way that I said it.
Okay.
So it was actually Dustin's birthday a couple days prior to the day that we actually went to Myrtle Beach.
Okay, cool.
So for Dustin's birthday celebration, he wanted to go on a trip, and he's like one of my best friends. So
nice.
We decided to go, or he decided that he wanted this to be in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And we were like, sweet. I haven't had a vacation in a while. She took a vacation day. I took a vacation day or two.
Yeah.
and we drove down there. Had a day on the beach, or a couple days on the beach. We walked around Myrtle Beach and the shops and stuff around that area.
Yeah.
And that's why we went. It was because of Dustin's birthday.
Well, that's awesome. You satisfied his want. Hey, I want to do this.
Yes.
That's all. That's a good friend.
Yes. And he would do the same. And did do the same for Chicago.
That's awesome. That's cool you guys did that. Yeah. So, any particular reason? Had you ever been to Myrtle Beach before?
He had a long time ago. I had never been to Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
So, and it was interesting because Myrtle Beach, I feel like growing up, I heard a lot about it, and everybody always talked about going to Myrtle Beach. Yeah. But as I grew older, I stopped hearing people talk about it as much.
That's true. Why is that?
Just based on the things that I've talked about or the people that I've talked to that had been there in the past, it seems like it's kind of fallen out a little bit.
Of graces? Yeah. For the main spot?
Yeah, because it's been around forever.
Well, I have noticed,
for decades.
Virginia Beach, where my dad lives, and parts of Florida and other beaches, there's specific cities or regions in the United States that flock there in the summertime for vacations. So in Virginia Beach, a lot of people from Vancouver, Canada.
Really?
So yeah, when you're on the
this is
once you live in a spot, you start picking up all the stuff.
Yeah.
And Donna, my stepmom, she mentioned that she grew up there. I'm pretty sure. No, I'm probably butchering that. She's been there for quite a long time. Anyways, Donna was like, "Oh yeah, we get tons of Vancouver."
That's so weird.
Vancouverans or whatever the hell they call them down there. Because I was hearing, I hope I'm not butchering this, because I was hearing a lot of French.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Yeah,
that makes sense." French Canadian.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, that's so weird." But then Hilton Head was like a Cincinnati Mecca, I feel like. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, we go to Hilton Head," and I'm wondering if Myrtle Beach is another one of those. It's just over time, people, even in big city groups, just move on to other places.
To other places, yeah.
Just merge and things like that.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, did you have a question? Another question? Follow-up question?
Could you tell it wasn't in its heyday anymore, or just you just don't hear anybody talk about it?
Have you ever been to Pigeon Forge?
Yes.
Okay. So I kind of feel like this is a version of Pigeon Forge on a beach.
Really?
Minus a decent amount of the stuff. So if you go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, it's a street with laser tag and go-karts and putt-putt and arcades and tourist trap stuff, gift shops and all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach is that. Myrtle Beach is basically it's a street, and there are always nice cars driving up and down the street. There's exclusively tourists. There's the beach, and then there's a bunch of gift shops and random restaurants.
Okay.
So for the most part, it's just kind of like one of those tourist trappy areas that you go to on a vacation.
I see.
And buy things that you would never buy in any other context.
Money burn a hole in your pocket.
Yeah. And that's really all it is. I didn't explore outside of the extremely touristy areas except for further down, and it was just more condos and apartments and hotels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get into the the quote unquote real city where people actually lived. So I have no idea what it's like living in that area. Yeah. It was all just tourist destination, and everybody that I interacted with either worked there or was another tourist. So
I see. Yeah.
Really
real tourist beach.
Yeah, it is exclusively a tourist beach, and I can tell that it used to be more because all the signs.
That's what I was wondering.
Kind of all the signs for the businesses seemed like they were from a different time.
That's what I was wondering. So the vibe, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it did kind of used to have a different heyday. They're not worn, but old. And I don't know if it's what they're trying to do as part of their aesthetic, but a lot of the signs were this hotel has color TVs.
Whoa!
And
wow! Yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
Interesting. That interests me. So I would like to go to that just to see that because I love those quirky vibes to places.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of lots that were empty that used to have businesses on them but don't anymore.
Yeah.
And based on what my conversation I had with our manager Cole, he said the same thing. It used to be a lot bigger than it was than it is now. So I mean, at the same time, it was neat and it was fun and the time that we spent on the beach, it was cloudier. It wasn't super sunny, but at the same time, I got burnt to a freaking crisp.
Oh yeah, it's easy to forget to put sunscreen on a cloudy day.
Yeah, I'm just dumb.
No,
but yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's still a beach.
Yeah,
and it wasn't one of the most phenomenal beaches, but it was still a beach, and beaches are amazing anyway, just to play in the ocean. So,
and it's not too far from home.
Yeah, it's awesome just to jump around in the waves and dive around and find cool shells and stuff like that. At night, we went around with Dustin's metal detector and tried to found a bunch of bottle caps and change.
That'd be cool.
That. Yeah, it was pretty neat. It was a neat thing to do.
Wanted a metal detector.
So it was definitely. I can totally see you with a metal detector.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, it was an interesting trip. Definitely a place from a different time, and not necessarily like when we go on vacations typically, and when especially if I'm by myself on a vacation, I just like transplant myself into the middle of a random city with almost no plan and just like make different destinations.
Love that.
And see what happens.
Right.
And like soak in the actual city itself where people live.
Yep.
This was like a tourist thing, which is also fun in its own right. And eating funnel cake being delicious.
Oh yeah.
Being on the beach and doing all these random things, like that's cool for a different reason, just not necessarily like what I would typically do.
As long as you like temper your expectations, right?
Exactly, yeah. Right.
So I kind of had that experience in Santa Cruz, not the older part, but I guess I didn't realize it was so touristy.
Yeah.
So, and it was great. It was beautiful. But I think my expectations was something different, which I don't know what I was expecting. Because I kind of went to all these cities with like zero expectations.
Yeah. I'm getting a call from my brother. I'm going to take this real quick.
Okay.
All right, guys. We're back to talking about stuff. That was an important issue I had to clear up. And then Noah told a nice story about a guy that came up to him at school today. And I'm going to put that at the end of the episode after the outro. So stay tuned for that. What were you asking me before I got a call? So you had tempered your expectations for these places is what you were saying.
Yeah, so I think some of the cities that I went to, I kind of had like a general idea because like San Francisco and Seattle, like the bigger ones. But like Santa Cruz, I just purposely didn't like look into it super deep just because it was just, I want to experience it fresh. But... You know how when your brain just models a city without, you're like, okay, a city on the beach, what does it look like? Right. It just didn't look like this. So I was like, whoa, it was just like a jar. And then the first day was like cloudy, so I was like, oh. But Santa Cruz is beautiful.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, so I can understand. But I think, like, so the way you describe Myrtle Beach, it sounds like, I think that'd be interesting just in its own right, just to see all the, I wouldn't say, it didn't sound run down. It's just like, I like
past
that.
its prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just different.
And like I was talking too about it while I was there, like it's interesting seeing it and seeing all these references to the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And not necessarily get out of it what people would always expect to get out of it, but get out of it some deeper kind of thing.
Right.
Like a deeper story of an older place that used to be bigger.
Right. And I love like projecting myself back, like how they dressed and things like that. Like, oh, I'm here now too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that a lot downtown too. Like I'm riding on a street, this used to be a canal, and then there used to be like subway tunnel, or there's still kind of subway tunnels down there.
Yeah.
Which I want to sneak in.
You should totally. And I will go with you.
You will get it's highly legal.
That's okay.
We're talking about it on a podcast.
We've only projected it on the air that we're going to do it.
Right, so. But they don't know when.
That's not how. Substantial evidence.
Right. This is just hearsay.
Yeah, exactly.
No one can see me winking on the internet.
Nope. You're not even winking in real life. That's just blinking.
I just like blinked really hard.
With both eyes. Anyway. So yeah, I did go to Myrtle Beach, Anthony.
Yeah, so that was a good trip. So you guys drove straight through both ways?
Yep.
Nice.
About 11 hours.
I mean, part of the trip is the fun of the travel anyways.
I mean, yeah.
Do you like? I mean,
road trips are good, but it depends on the situation. Like, normally, I think I'm at the point where time is so important to me that if I do something, I will take deep account for the amount of time I will have to spend driving.
Okay.
Because it is a lot of time that I would prefer to do something else. Like it's
like a whole day each way, basically.
Yeah, and that's a long time.
Yeah,
like it's longer than a work day.
It's like 9 hours, 10 hours, something like that.
So I think I'm now leaning towards more of take more vacation days and just fly there and just get there, so that I don't have to worry about
future trips. Okay.
Yeah, instead of dedicating an entire day to driving.
I see. And is that why you show an interest to airline mile cards? Or
I mean that just because like I love travel in general.
Okay. Yeah.
But also because I need to start building credit because I have literally none.
That's right.
And I just need some kind of credit card.
Yeah, that's healthy. Yeah. Yeah, just pay it off weekly.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I got a airline's credit card for the specific reason of the flying. Mm-hmm. So, of course, after last summer, now I have more expensive days and trips.
Of course.
So, So we're going to the Red River Gorge.
Yes, in a couple weeks. Or next week.
Yeah, not this weekend, but next weekend.
It's the first camping trip I've been on since Canada.
Oh, that's right.
Canada changed my life.
Oh, yeah. And you love that trip.
That's why I have all this equipment.
That's true.
Already ready. I don't have to buy much. I rented a sleeping bag, so I have to buy one of those. And a tent I need to buy.
Okay.
And that'll be on the way. But yeah, I'm super ready for that.
Yeah.
And also ready for this weekend going to Baltimore.
We're going to Baltimore.
May has been like one of the most anticipated months of a long time.
You've been quite busy.
Yeah. Because first month May was the P-Funk and Fro booth at the Flying Pig.
That's right.
Which was successful.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone that contributed to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Next weekend which was this last weekend, was the Myrtle Beach trip.
Right. Yeah.
Which we talked about. This upcoming weekend, we're going to Baltimore with Dave.
Yeah.
Horse race with Dave.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Things are going to get crazy.
Yep. And then the following weekend is Red River Gorge trip. So literally every weekend in May is busy.
Yeah, and I think I have like 3 things beyond that.
Yep.
So it's like...
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Rambling a little bit, but
right.
Those are the circumstances that we're looking at right now. Anthony, do you have any other questions for me about my mental state currently?
Your mental state. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years?
That is impossible for you to answer, and I know that. The reason why I say that is because you are... just to give you an outsider's perspective, not to discount anything, you were zooming around, buddy. Like with your life outlooks, which is not bad. I'm not saying it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
I just think it's good. I just think it's funny. It's something to note, and it's better than being stagnant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I asked that question almost as a joke because I know you don't know.
I can figure it out.
Some people might be able to say in 5 years.
I think I could have a general answer.
Okay. Well, okay. That's fair.
5 years. I think I will have figured out a way to make money without putting in so much time on the weekly basis. That will also allow me to be mobile.
Okay.
I think I will have figured it out by then.
Yeah, 5 years. I believe you will be able to as well.
And I believe this podcast will be much bigger in some way, or some permutation of this podcast. I have a lot of faith in this podcast, Anthony. Right. A lot of faith. Yeah, and I've been pouring a lot. The way I see it is there are a few pillars in my life, and there's slowly becoming more of them, that are things that I have decided are pillars. These are the things I put a lot of my energy towards. Yeah. That's not something that I've had for a very long time.
Like structure like that?
Yeah, because it's like, exactly. Structure and things that I know I'm working towards. So I've been in this position where I'm like, what am I working towards? Is all this energy that I'm putting into things worth it? Is it what I want to do? But I think I'm slowly formulating like what I want those pillars to be.
I see.
So it's like podcast, one of the pillars. Like no matter what happens, this has to keep going.
Yeah.
Like this podcast, like we've put in too much time and I see too many possibilities with that.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Relationship, a pillar also.
Right.
That is something that is definitely worth it. Want to put a lot of time into it.
Definitely.
And the other pillars are slowly building. But so far, like the more free time that I can get to put towards those.
But you have the scaffolding, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Which is more than what I had even last month.
That's what it sounds like.
It's just like constantly just like aching to try to figure out exactly what I want to do and how to get it.
Hey, keep on running, Austin.
Thanks, Anthony. But yeah, any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
All right, cool. Well, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the P-Funk and Fro Show. Of course, you can also listen to us on...
You don't do this often.
iPhones and cell phones and calculators that have internet abilities. You can also listen to it on your smartwatch.
On your Game Boy Advance SP.
Your Game Boy Your microwave might be able to play it. I'm not so sure.
Smart refrigerator.
Actually, yeah, heater's refrigerator could probably play it. He's got like discos. He can have a party from his fridge.
He could.
Right. Yeah, the reason why I'm stumbling is because I don't remember our Facebook group.
This is episode 53 of the P-Funk and Fro Show. Join us on Facebook. Facebook.com/group/P-Funk and Fro. It's been episode 53. We're going to come at you every Friday with new episodes.
Thank you, Austin.
On iTunes and Android podcast services. That's what I do. It's okay.
Refrigerators.
I've only done it like 50 times.
That's true.
It doesn't matter. It's different every time. iTunes and Android podcast services will be back every week. Thanks to our special guest, my brother, who will be placed at the end of the episode after this.
Yeah.
I think. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, we hope you guys enjoyed our fireside chat between Anthony and myself. We'll be doing this occasionally. But until next time, we will see you later.
Later.
Nice. Sweet. Hey, anything you want to say on the podcast? What?
Rock on.
Yay. Yay.
And don't talk to strangers. I almost had trouble in my gym class today.
Wait, you did? What happened?
So, there was this guy. We were on the track doing our cardio day workout. There's this guy that comes up, and we're walking around the track, and he waits for us to come by him. He's a really active-looking guy, fit, kind of, I'd say 50s, maybe 60. And he says, "How old are you guys?" We're like, "Oh, sophomores in high school," and one kid in the back's got to be funny. He goes, "I'm a fifth-year senior." But he's walking along, and he's like, "Where's your teacher?" And we're like, "Oh, she's over there," because he looks like a nice guy. He's not going to do anything. So he comes over, and he says, "Hi, my name's Tom." He says, "Can I say something to your class real quick?" And he goes, oh, what did he start with? He said, "There's one thing you got to know in life that makes everything. It's like your perspective, everything, how you live, and it starts with an A." He said, "Attitude. That's what it is.
Dang.
Your attitude, blah, blah, blah." And he said, you're gonna have one best friend your whole life. She's gonna be there for you no matter what." He said, "You know who that is? Your mom. She's gonna help you through everything." And he's like, the only person the only thing that'll never lie to you is that thing you're wearing on your wrist, your watch."
Dang.
Because he's talking about what he told us first. He's like, if you're in any sport, you need to work hard. If you aren't in shape, you aren't going to be able to do anything, because we were out on the track. He's like, so every one of your coaches, you should be working your butts off in everything that you do.
Yeah.
So I was like, we don't even know who this guy is. And then we're thinking about it. Like, we're thinking about it afterwards, and we're like, if we were watching some video about, like, a school shooter coming up, we would be like, why are these kids telling this guy this? But we did the same exact thing.
Right, yeah.
So we're like, what?
Yeah, you guys got
like
lucky.
What?
Lucky he just had some sweet advice to give you.
So, all in all, we concluded this guy was definitely God.
Come down from the heavens.
Yeah. And then he just drove away.
What does God drive?
I think it's like a Nissan.
Nice.
So he's rolling, I guess, average. Yeah, but that's all I needed.
All right, that's cool. All right, good luck.
Okay.
Good luck with iTunes.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Goodbye.